Down throughout all of the ages, all of the religions, all of the spiritual practices, one thing that all of those have in common with each other is self-realization. Who are we? Why are we here? What am I to feel and think and be? These are questions we ask ourselves every single day. Your own self-realization is the greatest service you can render the world. That you can render the world. Without even knowing yourself, how can you show up to be that light of the world? Without understanding ourselves, the emotions we feel, the way we think, the thoughts that come in and out of our head that are constant. Thoughts never end, do they? Is there ever a moment that there isn't something in your head, in your brain? Never. Thoughts are continual, one right after the other. They are our experience. And it's when we get to the place where we understand the thoughts and we understand the emotion that we are able to be totally and completely in the consciousness of realization, of self-realization. How we are thinking. Why are we thinking? We're going to ask questions. It's an inquiry into each and every thought we have. If we stop and we ask ourselves, why am I thinking this? Is this thought even true that I'm thinking? Is it absolutely true what I'm thinking in this moment, this thought? So today we're going to dive into this, because only when you pay attention to your thoughts and you start to question your thoughts, do you make a difference in this world? Because the difference is within you. You can change nothing out here. You can only change the way you think about what is happening out here by going within and asking yourself, is this true? We're going to look at the work of Byron Katie, as she's known by Katie, and this book of Loving What Is. This is a beautiful book. I have given you in your bulletin a workout sheet that describes the work in detail. I invite you to go to her webpage. She has got questions there to answer. She's got a full array of things, plus all kind of videos that show her working with other people. And she calls it the work, capital T, capital W, the work. When you become a lover of what is, the war is over. Think about that. When you become a lover of what is, the war is over. And we contribute to the war out here if we have a war going on within here. Why do we struggle? Because of how we are thinking about reality. But what if we loved whatever reality we were in at the time? What if we paid attention and asked the question if this was true for us? Reality is going to happen no matter what, right? But it's how we look at reality. Is it an opportunity for me to see something that I am to see? To see a reflection of myself that's showing up out here because of how I am thinking and feeling about something? Reality is just that. It is real to us, happening outside of us. But the reality with a capital R is in us that we create has spiritual beings to know who and what we truly are. That the reality out here is showing up to help me, to guide me, to give me direction. That's why it has come into my path. That's why. And we only have the war when we are not willing to accept that this is happening. She uses an illustration of trying to get a cat to bark. She wants to change her reality. She wants this cat to bark. Why won't this cat bark? She tries to train the cat to bark. Tries to do everything in the struggle, trying to get the cat to bark. And the sweet cat looks up at her and says, meow. That's reality. It is what it is, what it is. Staying in your own business. So she talks about there being 3 different businesses. My business, your business, and God's business. So when we ask the question, when we're struggling, we're feeling frustrated, we're angry, we're upset with what's happening, this person's not changing, why aren't they changing? When we're in that energy of getting into somebody else's business, we are no longer present to ourselves. Right? And what moment is there other than right now? There is no other moment. This is the only moment. So if you're in someone else's business, you are not presently within your own business being the awesome, authentic self that you are. You cannot pay attention to how you're thinking or feeling or acting if you are in somebody else's business. And what about God's business, the universe's business? The earthquakes, the storms, all this other stuff that's going on out here that we are not in control of. But yet you want to be in the business of thinking that I can go out here and change the world. And then the struggle begins because you're not changing the world, because you haven't even looked within. And what has happened is you're doing it backwards. You're doing it backwards. You want to change it out here before you've even changed anything within yourself. It's all backwards, right? So when we change it within here, it will shift out here. It will look differently to you. It will feel differently to you. And each and every person that does that will affect the whole, the collective consciousness of the whole. So start paying attention when you're feeling any kind of discomfort, you're frustrated, any feelings that are not of joy and peace and harmony. Ask yourself, I dare you, ask yourself, whose business am I in right now? Because if I was in my own business, I would be centered in that peace. Ask yourself, whose business am I in? Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Pain is inevitable. We are going to experience pain. We are here to experience who we are not in order that we may learn who we are, right? We've had that talk on Sunday. Pain is inevitable. It is part of the human experience. But it becomes suffering when you are attached to the pain. When you are attached to whatever is going on that is creating this feeling of pain within you. And I mean physically, mentally, emotionally. Any kind of uncomfortableness that you are experiencing is your warning signals. My gosh, we have so many things that happen in our life to give us indications that we need to address and question and to change and to come from a different place. And that is only within that we find that we do not suffer. So when you attach to the pain, to whatever the thought is you're having about something, to whatever you're feeling about, and you attach yourself to it, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer. It is your choice. It is your option. And it is your opportunity. Everyone is a mirror image of yourself, your own thinking coming back to you. Boy, did I not like this saying years ago. I don't like that in you, and I know it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. You wouldn't even notice that you didn't like it if it didn't have something to you, because there is an emotional connection to the reason you're feeling that way. Because it is something within you that you feel less than that is showing up in your outer experience to wake you up so you question it. I always had this issue about the relationships I've had. They don't listen to me. They never listen to me. I always felt like I'm sitting there and they're not even present. They're not listening to me. And when I read her book, I came to the realization, the self-realization, that it isn't that they weren't listening to me. I'm not listening to me. Wow, that was a big aha for me. I'm not listening to me. Why in the world would I think that anyone else would listen to me if I'm not even listening to myself, to my own inner voice? So that was a reflection that kept coming up in every single relationship. So now I'm learning to listen to me. I question myself, is this true? And the turnaround was, no. The truth was that I wasn't listening to me. So these are the 4 questions she has in her book and on her website and in the paper that I gave you. The first question you ask, is it true? If you feel any frustration, anger, uncomfortableness, resentment, all of the emotional feelings, and she has a list of all of these feelings on her website that you might be feeling. This is when you take the opportunity to stop, to pause, and to be still. Because when you are still, the question, the answer will meet the question in the stillness. She also says that using pen and paper is so important, not to do this within your own head. The pen and paper, the action of that stops the mind from going crazy like it does, because you're focused on what you're writing. So you want to pick up the pen and paper and do the work. Is this true? And take the time to allow your mind to connect with your heart. And you do that by being still and going within. She also talks about forgiveness. Forgiveness is probably the first place you want to start. Forgiveness, if you feel that you have anyone to forgive, and you think, oh, I've forgiven them 99%. No. Because it's in the 1% that you're stuck. Only in 100% of forgiveness is the forgiveness true. So you want to start there. And she also says to start with other people. Because when we start this work on our own self, the ego has a field day with it. The ego's like, yeah, she's coming to me first. I'm going to go to town on her. We start with other people because the other people are what we are reflecting from us. They are our projection of what is going on within us, and that's where we start. Because your ego will not be a part of that. Then after you feel that you've done everyone that you can think of that is creating this discomfort within you, then you can work on yourself. And then after that, then you can work on the world. But that is kind of the pattern she suggests, and to go from self, other people, self, and then the world. And then, is it absolutely true? She said, is anything absolutely true? Is anything absolutely, is the word, true? No, there's nothing that's absolutely true out here. And if you're answering yes to that, then she'll work you through that process. How do you react when you believe this thought? How do you react? How do you feel when you are thinking this thought? Do you isolate? Do you go get a big thing of ice cream? You go shopping? Maybe sit and drink a six-pack? What do you do? What do you feel? Pay attention to what you're doing when you have that thought. Pay attention to how you're feeling. Do you go into depression? Do you become angry? So you'll be writing all this down as you're thinking about this. You're inquire into this thought, questioning this thought. Yes. Who would you be if you could not even think this thought? Who would you be then if you didn't have the thought in the first place? Now this is a process. This is not a quick fix. This is a process. But if you didn't have the thought, this is where we use the power of imagination to imagine how I would feel if I never thought that thought in the first place. And what it brings us to is that we would feel joy. We would feel that peace and harmony that we truly are. The struggle would not be there, right? Because the thought would not be there. And as you do this practice, eventually less thoughts will start coming into your life that are creating the discomfort, the frustration. And we know that. We all know that as we do our spiritual work, that we start to change. And those thoughts start to diminish because we have the help of God in the universe. Where those all just kind of fall apart. They start falling apart. And less of those thoughts will stop coming to you. So then turn it around. Turn it around. Nobody listens to me. Now, once I go through this practice, I'm able to turn it around. I am not listening to myself. So as you do this, you get to that place where you turn it around. And in there's the lesson. And you change the whole experience. So I invite you to do this work. I'm going to do this work. And this is a lifelong process. Because as long as we're here, we're going to have those thoughts that come up. But once we learn what to do with them, once we ask the questions and do the inquiring about the thoughts, it will change. And it will change you and the world. Just keep coming home to yourself. You're the one you've been waiting for. You are your teacher. We can go out here and learn, go to workshop, read books. We can do all of those things, and it's fantastic to have all of that. But you are the true teacher of yourself. You are your teacher, your guide, your mentor, your God. You are all of those things unto yourself. You will not find it out here. You may think you have found it out here, but if you have not gone within and realized that you are home within you, your home is within you, your spiritual being, the Christ principle of yourself. You are the teacher. And then we teach others. Then we share the light with others. For the sake of your freedom. This is why we do the work. For the sake of our freedom. We just celebrated Independence Day. Our freedom. We celebrate that we are free. But are we truly free if we don't even know who we are? If we've forgotten home? There is no freedom out here if we are not free within. So, for your sake, for the sake of your freedom, I invite you to take on this work and to feel the questions